Welcome everyone to our first episode of our newest podcast, Her Hustle, Her Way. My name is Angie Hollanda. Alongside of me is my business partner, my great friend, a powerhouse really in so many different ways, Lucy Natick. Hi Lucy.
Hi guys, my name is Lucy Natick. Such a pleasure to meet everyone.
Aren't you excited that we're finally here?
Yes, absolutely. I think it took a little bit, but we finally meshed. It's like,
I mean, look at us today, talking about meshing in young, in its fullest, right?
Seriously. We didn't know what we were going to wear, and somehow we ended up just...
We always do.
Yep.
And I think this is why makes us such a great partners in what we do. But, you know, I would want to start with us kind of explaining to our viewers what was even the reason behind of us doing this.
Absolutely.
Because it took us a while to get here, but I think, you know, reinforce the ideas, I guess, throughout the journey too, because, you know, the idea first came to me back in April of this year.
Yeah.
And it took me a little bit to kind of, you know, talk myself into it, because in the same time I was talking myself out of it, and not until I started having conversations with different friends and colleagues in the industry and, you know, my personal life, where nobody really told me, I don't think that's a great idea. Everybody was very supportive.
Yeah.
And then I remember talking to you, and I was telling you about, you know, my insecurities about it, and, you know, how I'm going to do it. And at some point you said, what would you think if I would join you? And I was just ecstatic, because first of all, I would never even think that you would want to jump on this, you know, adventure with me, and I was just so ecstatic. So what was the reason why behind for you?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, right? Being first generation, which we'll get into all of those details in different episodes, but I think for me, I have a lot of like that do for others type of mentality, where make sure everyone else is taken care of, almost like selfishness. So I was like, if I'm going to do this podcast, it's going to be for me. My kids think it's cringe, because that's the new word.
Really? Mine are so excited. They want to come on.
Like, Mom, why would you do that? Well, you're going to say these obnoxious things, and then you're going to get canceled. And so, yeah, I decided to kind of take the leap. And you and I have this amazing, like, chemistry. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, at least it'll be natural. It'll be like our coffee combos. We usually have a bunch of coffee combos, maybe like once a month.
And it's never enough time for us to have that combo, right? We're always running out of time. But we also want to, you know, make sure that everybody understands what this podcast is about. So Her Hustle, Her Way, it's really all about women, just like us, that hustled their way through life to become who they are today. And, you know, through our journeys, either through personal journeys or professional journeys, we've been meeting so many wonderful women, and we never really dig deep into their stories until, you know, different conversations started happening, and we were like, wow, I would never know this about you. I want to know more. And I think that's how it started. And when I realized that just because you are here today doesn't mean that the road was very easy. I mean, even our personal stories can, you know, testify to it.
Absolutely.
And we wanted to kind of know more about each personal struggles of each woman, because I think, you know, there was just so much to it, when from being a mom, from being a partner, from being a wife, you know, from being, you know, sister and daughter and whatever else, and professionals, you know, we hustle really every single day. And a lot of times our struggles are in a different level, because we have still glass ceilings and a lot of different things. And so I think we want to bring that to the table and open the floor and give a platform to other women to tell their stories. Anything from that first, second generation hustles to mental health to, you know, struggles through relationships and business and raising kids and, you know, everything. So we don't want to limit ourselves to specific topics. Right?
Yeah. I think we're gonna be exploring all different types of subjects and topics on the episode, like in this different podcast. But I think for me, I want to make sure that other people feel seen. Because sometimes when you're just so caught up in like the daily struggles of life, you're like, you feel so isolated and so alone.
Well, because you're allowing only certain part of you out there, right?
Yeah, especially with social media.
Right.
Everything's instant gratification.
Right.
People like, see you partying in Spain on a yacht, and they're like, oh man, wow, must be nice. But they don't realize struggles or, the endless nights that you had to go to school and class and you left your kids, or the time that, we're in meetings and you're like, I'd rather be at home with my children, but it's part of the job and it is what it is.
It's gratifying for sure.
Yeah.
And this is kind of culmination of all of that. And for me, it was also about challenging myself a little bit. Although it's super scary because this is probably the most vulnerable type of situation that I'm putting myself in. And we've talked about it too.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
And I think because we are daughters of, very traditional types of, families, right?
Yeah.
We have to consider some of the things because we also can be so natural and so transparent that sometimes you're just like, whoa, did I just say that, right? We had that conversation. Can we edit that part? But that's a beauty in it, and we have to kind of understand where we came from. So let's talk about our backgrounds, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about you. You are really the second generation of immigrants, but you consider yourself really the first one, the way how you started. So tell us a little bit more about where your family is from and, about your journey.
Yeah, so, with different generations, the immigrant is technically the first to come to the country, but everyone after that is first generation, right? You're first generation American. And so both of my parents are Mexican. We have this crazy history. It's very unique, to say the least, but we're here. My dad is an incredible individual. My mom just stayed at home and really just supported my dad and everything that he did. And then finally one day she's like, I'm gonna go to work, and he was so taken back, like, what do you mean?
What are you gonna do?
You've been at home this whole time. So she ended up going back to work, and that put a little bit of pressure on me to really help out with the family.
You are the oldest, right?
I have an older brother. So
I'm always forgetting that. Because you have such a personality of the
type
oldest
A.
child.
Yeah, type A.
Yeah.
So there's 3 boys in my family, and then 2 girls. And we range from like almost 40 down to 27 or something like that. Right. And we all kind of have our own families now, but we all live really close to one another. Like, we're all very, very close. My parents raised me almost in traditional values kind of household, Mexican household, but not necessarily like a Mexican household where it was always like, we didn't really have a lot of family growing up. Like, my parents really just pulled us out of California, put us in the middle of Georgia, northern Georgia, to say the least. So it's just us. Like, my immediate family is all that I know. And sometimes that could be like a negative, and sometimes it can be a positive. It's a positive because we are so close to each other. We're talking to each other all the time. We have group chats going. We're there at our kids' soccer games, and I'm like, I don't know why they would get up and come to Cartersville this early in the morning for my daughter's game, But at the same time, it's also, we're all we've got. And so I think that, it's a little bit, it's like my mess kind of, but my own mess that I love, and I love my family, and I don't know if it wasn't for their support,
where would you be?
I don't think I could be where I'm at now.
Absolutely.
And I'm so appreciative and so grateful, not just for my parents, because I do vocalize that quite a bit, but also for my siblings. Like, I recently wrote, there's a book called To My Sibling, and it's just a bunch of poems that remind you of your siblings.
Yeah.
And so I just circled one, and then I bought each one of them a copy, and I wrote what it felt like a love letter.
That is so sweet.
And then I would
it's
go.
almost like Sister's Keeper.
Yeah.
A little bit more. You know what I mean? My Sister's Keeper,
So I appreciate them, I love them, and they are so dear to me. Hence why I named my daughter after my brother.
Wow.
And we all are just there for each other.
But it also models to your kids how important it is to stay together as they growing. So as they, as the family is fading away, they're becoming older, it's very important for them to see how important it is to stick together. Yeah, it's very similar to my kids, but we're gonna get to it. But you have your own children too. How many kids do you have?
So I have 3 kids.
Yes.
I have Leo, shout out to the eldest. That's my baby that grew up with me. Raphael, he's a middle child.
Okay.
And then Adriana, she's a powerhouse. She's the baby.
I met her, and let me tell you, she's a spitfire. You know what I mean?
God.
She's just such a mini of you.
People talk about, like, they're always saying, like, oh, I'm raising a powerful woman, or, you know, a strong woman. And then it's like they show the moms that are just like all messed up and raggedy, and it's like, yeah, that's totally me. Like, it's so hard to just kind of like figure out that function of, or that balance, like how much do I allow without putting out that fire, without the fire like just turning into a forest fire, you know? And so that's a little bit tricky, but I don't know how you do it with all of your girls. I think I've told you, like, I would be an alcoholic. My boys are like mellow, you know? They're wild, but they're mellow. They're very like,
but you see, everybody says that. Everybody that, you know, asks me, do you have kids? Yeah, I have 3 girls. Bless your heart. Every time I hear that, I'm like, well, not necessarily. I think it comes down to how you raise your children.
Yeah.
And maybe because I'm the oldest of 3 myself, and there was never really a room for drama.
Yeah.
And I really was cutting that drama off very quickly with my girls. I'm like, you start whining, I can give you a reason for whining. I mean, seriously. So right now, you know, I've always kind of been more of a disciplinarian, but as they're growing older, they're becoming so close to. We have this great friendship.
Natural. That's so natural for women.
It's nothing forced, and you know, it's just beautiful. I've been so blessed to have beautiful and great kids. Even so I have 16-year-old who is driving right now, and who is as tall as me, 5'9", and you know, I have a 14-year-old and I have 12-year-old, and they are just amazing children. I'm a single mom, but I have a great partner who supports me with everything, which is a blessing to have. So yeah.
It's crazy, right?
It is crazy. You know, but for me, I've listened to you talking about you having your family here.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury, and I miss it so much. So my story is quite different. I'm that generation of, you know, coming to America, right? Where I didn't know English, where I came as a 23-year-old, you know, understanding really basically nothing about this country besides what I knew from TV shows, you know, and it was such a skewed version of, you know, this place. But nor here nor there, I've decided to stay and continue my college here, and, you know, got married with immigrant too. I got married to immigrants, so I was not, a lot of people thought that I came here maybe to get a green card and got married with American. It was such an easy ride. It was nothing like that. Short of that. But, you know, deciding at 23 that I will come to a different country, it was a big decision that really changed the course of my life, but also, you know, took me away from, you know, that epicenter of family.
I think that's something, and I apologize for interrupting you, but I think that's something that a lot of immigrants struggle with, and it's not vocalized.
Yes.
And when you asked me why I wanted to do this podcast, I think part of it was, so you had asked me why I wanted to do the podcast, and I think part of it was because I don't feel like my parents are comfortable speaking about that immigrant experience. You know, it's always a very like grateful thing. Like, I'm so appreciative that we came to this country, and they give it, like, they're so, like, they feel so indebted to it that for me it was important to speak to somebody who is an immigrant and who can relay some of those struggles without feeling, I guess, bad about it, and for me to better get to know my parents too.
Through that.
So that's another reason why I did it.
Well, thank you. I mean, no, seriously, I feel like it's a great honor that you want to do that through me.
Yeah.
And but also pressure, to be honest. You know what I mean? But no, but it's true. It's very difficult because, you know, I'm super close with my family still. Like we talk almost, you know, every other day with my sisters, with my mom, and part of the things that I miss the most is to have them during those soccer games, you know, the holidays and Christmas and, you know, kids celebrations, you know, graduations. I mean, that's the time that I miss them the most. And I know that my girls miss that so much because even though, you know, they've been raised here and they really, the true Americans, you know what I mean, at this point, you know, they have beautiful and very versatile heritage too, because dad is from Brazil, so they have family in Brazil, they have family in Poland, and it's just us in here. Yeah. So I think versatility of that is just also something that a lot of people around here have, but you know, nobody really talks about it because we're just like, oh, we are all Americans.
Well,
you know?
It makes me feel any better. We're really close to my parents. We're about to take a trip, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere without my parents.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about you. So you have 3 kids.
Yes.
And then how many siblings?
So I have 3 siblings. I am the oldest of 3 girls. It's every 5 years. So between me and my middle sister is 5 years difference. Between me and my youngest sister is 10 years difference. So when I came to States, my youngest, Natalia, was only 13 years old. So she was a baby. And for a long time, when I was talking to her, even went, you know, back over there, I would treat her like a baby. And she was just like, you need to stop that. You know, I'm 20 something, I'm 30, you know, not until she got married. I started looking at her differently because in my mind, like it all stuck, right? At the time that I left, they all were just babies. It was only me that was maturing, but it was not really the reality. So I was raised by 2 very hardworking parents in post-communistic Poland. Mm-hmm. So my parents never dared to dream because they were kind of under the regime of, you know, everybody has the same. So when suddenly me came up with the idea, I want more, it was for an idea for them a little bit, because I was like, more what? You know, like, why do you want to go over there, right? It was just this scary feeling because for them, the dream come true was just to have that 8 to 5 job, provide for the kids, put the food on the table, and, you know, don't complain, and it's all great. So, but also being raised in that type of environment and culture with that type of heritage also allowed me to constantly be being reminded of how my parents were strong and the generations before that allowed me to be here today as well. Mm-hmm. So in my heart, I'm Polish, you know, but the confidence and everything else I developed here as an American. So I've been here this year 23 years. So I was 23 when I got here. I've been here 23 years. So that means that, you know, so I came here in August. So actually I've been here a full month longer lived here in States that I've lived in Poland, which is like literally my brain just kind of blows, you know what I mean? Just from that realization. But I think that's what, you know, attracted us to each other a little bit, right? I mean,
similar struggles.
Yes, our, you know, backgrounds and, you know, how we think differently, how we are open, you know, and, you know, our work ethics. I think that was another thing, right? Because we work in the same industry, and I've always admired you, you know, for your strength and kind of like, you need this done, boom, boom, boom. And, you know, I remember we had even a situation where I was looking for sponsorships money, and you were like, I got you, girl. And like 2 days later, you know, and I was like, what? Where did you come from?
Right.
So, and even with this experience, I mean, we challenging each other, but we
collaborate.
Yeah,
I think we fill each other's gaps. We really do. We complement one another, and I think that you get to kind of see a little bit of an idea of what it is to be like first generation.
Yes.
My parents are always like, be grateful, and I am. I'm so grateful for everything that I have.
So you see, my kid's gonna have that pressure that you have. So I'm thinking, like, as you talk, I was like, wow, those gonna be my girls.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So I get the exposure of like what my immigrant parents are thinking, and you get the exposure of the amount of pressure, right? Like, and we'll go into it in a different episode where we talk about immigration and first generation and all this
mental health and
all of
everything.
that good stuff. But yeah, and so there's just this pressure to always just succeed and be really good at what you do, and to validate these sacrifices that your parents gave up, all the things, like giving up their family. My dad, luckily, he can go back and see his family.
Me too, thank God.
Well, right now he can't because it's a shit show over there, but yeah, so I think for me, you know, there was never, people will ask me all of the time, like, how do you do it? What do you do? Like how do you even think about it? And I always tell people, like, I didn't know I had a choice.
Yeah.
It was like do or die. You're either going to do it or what's going to happen. And
who's going to help? You know what I mean? Who's going to do it if not me?
We shared about how we were single moms. I was a single mom at one point with both of my boys. And, you know, my ex-husband's super supportive. He's super sweet. Love him. He was at my wedding, actually, which people thought it was crazy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, my ex-husband was at my wedding, and my husband, who is just the sweetest person on earth, like, did vows to my boys and included him in the vows and all this stuff, which I thought was just so beautiful. And so we bonded over that. And then I found this person. He's not crazy, I'm the crazy one, but I found this person that just understood, you know, and he has supported me in everything that I do. And now that I sit back and I look back, he'll ask me these questions like, how did you do it? How is this? How is that? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't question that. You just go, right? You just don't sit and think about it.
I just do it.
I only think about it when somebody asks me, then for a minute, you know? So it's,
and it's always shocking, right? Like people will ask me, I'm so type A and I have to have everything so organized. But I'm like, every minute of my life is so important. Like, if I'm not spending it here and it's not productive and I don't find joy in it,
you're taking that
then
time
I'm taking
away
it from my kids.
Absolutely.
Or from my parents, or from my nephews and my wonderful niece that I love so much.
Or just resting, because we talked about it before we even came here. We don't have weekends anymore, you know, because either our kids are playing soccer, or we're recording, or we're meeting. And, you know, even this morning, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. It's Sunday. Yeah. Who wants to wake up at 5:30 in the morning on Sunday? But when you believe in something, it's just easier. You're kind of excited. You're nervous, but excited. Is that kind of...
Mine's joy. As long as I find joy in it, I'm fine. I'll make, even if I'm so tired and I have 40 gray hairs, I'm like, as long as I enjoy it.
There's a little bit more.
I'm not there yet. And so yeah, but you know, nothing a little bit of a dye can't take care of.
Right.
But yeah, and we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about like the beauty standards and all of that in America. And so, long story short, we're very grateful.
Yes.
I'm grateful for people like you who come to this country and just break these frickin' barriers and are crazy enough to be like, I'm just gonna go there and I don't have anything and I'll figure it out. But know that your girls are looking at you and they are going to be so, if not already, proud of who you are, and just say, oh my God, that's my mom. And you know, like yesterday I was playing soccer and I scored this goal and my daughter's on the sideline. She's like, that's my mom, that's my mom. And
doesn't make you just...
I was like, well, you do love me.
Smile with your heart.
Yeah.
I mean, I find myself doing this a lot lately, and even for my girls, I mean, even what we're doing here, and they are so excited. I was like, Mom, what is... Oh, they say, you are such a baddie. You are such a baddie. I was like, you doing a podcast? Can we come and see, or can we be on your podcast? And I'm like, you know what, maybe someday we'll have some teenagers
we'll have a family
here.
Podcast.
We have a family podcast, but it just shows that, you know, the sky's no limit, and we're hoping that people will tune in and follow us, and, you know, and want to see the stories of other women and hear more from us and from others. And you know, it's just exciting journey that we want to invite everybody on. And you know, if you would want it to be part of the journey, I mean, let us know. We would love to have
get to know different people,
because this is what the most beautiful part too. Like, I crave, you know, strong to meet more and have great relationship with with other beautiful women out there. And I think this will allow us to have that. So we are so looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it too. I think that's one thing that we talked about. I do have my tribe, some of my best friends, and why I'm able to do it, they just go above and beyond. Shout out to Janet, Jasmine, and my friend Lydia, and my sister, of course, before she yells at me. But yeah, so but
I'm gonna have her here.
We
too.
are.
Yes.
She will be part. She'll be a guest. Fair warning.
To meet her.
What is it? The explicit advice.
Two of you together. I mean, maybe I should take something to get to the same level.
And people will say "Oh, you're so high strung," and I'm like, I'm like the normal one in this family. You can wait till you meet the rest of us. But we have a good time. We're happy. We are my mom grew up super conservative. My dad grew up more of a little bit more be who you are.
Yeah.
And we've all taken that from my dad. And we are who we are. Take it or leave it.
Right. Be
around us. Don't be around us. All my friendships have been 20 plus years. So yeah, 4 down.
I know.
16 more to go. So yeah, but yeah, we're excited and we're happy that we get to
do this together. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for doing this with me. If
I get canceled, just kidding. Please don't cancel me. I'm actually professional.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Tune in for the second one.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you in the second episode.
Yes, thank you.